on Jeskai Geist, took game 1, but game 2 has been a different story altogether. Looks like some Fulminator maging may have been happening here. Yeah, he's actually going to pick up the card, so we'll get all of game 3. I'm assuming, right, 6 lands in play for Jody and 2 in play for Hobbs. A lot of times what we'll see, these 4 sideboard Fulminator mages out of Living End is something they do against control.
Yep, they are a difference maker, and that's what's going to pressure Hobbs to have some of these 3 main deck logic knots in these sideboard games on the draw. On the play, you can Spell Queller through the Fulminator Mage.
Right.
Then you can start attacking, and then you get to untap. Maybe you have Cryptic Command, so you're still covered against Living End. Play draw actually makes a huge difference on the matter of Fulminator Mage in this matchup.
Okay, so Jonathan's going to be on the play game 3, so what does that mean? How does this help him?
Spell Queller is just on time for Fulminator Mage.
Okay.
Once you're behind on that, you're just never going to get ahead. As long as Jody keeps converting Fulminator Mages or gets to cast Living End, even just Living End for Fulminator Mage back, that's going to keep pushing you back and you won't have access to your counter spells.
Yeah, I mean, that looks like what we saw that game is where Jody land destruction his opponent out, and then once he's on 6 lands and Jonathan's on 2, you actually just can start casting Horror of the Broken Lands, which...
If you even have to.
Yeah, if that's even necessary. Once your opponent isn't playing spells, it's pretty easy to win from there.
Right.
And it's an interesting part to Living End deck. That is generally what they go to out of the sideboard. His other cards, Ingate Chewers, Ley Lines, Dead Gauns, I don't think particularly relevant here.
No, and looks like he doesn't have access to any Ricochet traps, though that doesn't matter against Spell Queller anyway. It would allow him to fight over these Logic Knots, though the permission from Jeskai is a little bit inefficient and they're a little bit light on it anyway. And the Fulminator Mage is going to tax them to have Logic Knot because the second counter spell, at least a 2-mana 1, tends to be Negate. So your creature spells are pretty good.
So Jonathan on the play in game 3, I want to look at the difference, the card Geist of St. Traft. It is a creature, so it can in theory be swept up by Living End. And Living End has some 2/2s for 3 to block it. However, at the same time, it dodges Demonic Dread. Do you think Jonathan's going to still be on that plan, or is he going to try to be more controlling here for a 3rd game?
I would expect to see Geist in the sideboard. If you cast it, sometimes you just get Living Ended on the spot. So casting it on turn 3 is usually pretty poor. And also, Jody can just cast Fulminator Mage and block your Geist.
That's the part I'm worried about, right? Because so when it comes about getting Living Ended away, it's a 50-50. Half his Cascades hit it, half his don't. But then you start looking at Fairy Macabre, Fulminator Mage, even Simeon's Spirit Guide, actually, just as a card that blocks Geist.
Yes. I think that Geist is pretty weak in the matchup. Spell Queller is an upgrade compared to the slower controlling build of Jeskai. I guess we could call this deck Jeskai Spell Queller for as far as it matters in this matchup.
So yesterday we had a match on camera. If you want to see that one, Jody Keith versus Aaron Barrich was Living End versus Black Red Hollow one. Aaron Barrich, of course, was our Season 1 Invitational champion. If you haven't seen the token yet, this is the Aaron Barrich 1/1 Soldier token. He got his likeness on a card. You see, chose that one, going with cards like Elspeth Sun's Champion. This one is going to be shipping out from Star City Games pretty soon. It's already. Is it? No, it's like this coming up. Your orders are going to start starting on the 27th. We'll be shipping with this card. So next week, go ahead and get those orders in, and you can get a copy of this token. Also, we'll be giving it away with our Opens and Classics starting in the Dallas Open mid-next month.
Yeah, it's a really cool token. I wish that the hat looked a little bit more like armor. Maybe it is. I don't know. It has mystical powers, I suppose. Aaron wasn't wearing the hat this weekend.
I've noticed that. Well, he didn't day 2 either.
I think that might be correlated.
He should bring the hat.
You wore your hat, and you're here on day 2.
I have never missed day 2 here in the booth, and I'm always wearing a hat. So confirmed.
Yeah.
That is the right strategy.
Might be something to that.
Caleb's over there on the back table. He's got a hat on.
Yes.
Caleb's always in day 2.
Yeah. Always wearing that beanie. Jerry Thompson used to wear a lot of beanies. Not so much anymore.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think who are other all mono hat players.
Gabe Nassif.
Right.
Yellow hat.
Yellow hat.
Just quite the storied history of Magic players wearing hats. Dylan Kirkpatrick.
Oh, that's nice.
Known for his Jigglypuff hat. Oh, Peter Tubergen.
Peter Tubergen.
Pepsi hat.
Yeah. He's in day 2 today.
He often is. An open winner.
It's the strategy.
I don't think I've ever worn a hat to a Magic tournament.
I don't think I've ever seen you wear a hat.
I have worn non-zero hats. I'm not a big hat guy,
It might
though.
just be that, you know, maybe
I don't know,
your head doesn't fit hats.
I
Doesn't work.
have all my hair, which is a point against hats.
Maybe I do.
It's a mystery.
How would anyone know? Turn 1 Hobbs going to send that bolt upstairs at Jody.
That bolt's not really going anywhere else in this matchup, and let's let you snapcast it back if you're ever so inclined.
Or the Broken Land cycled.
It's not pretty Hobbs on a 6 and just throwing a lava spike upstairs.
Yeah. Got to start somewhere. Here we go.
Yeah, I got to get something going.
Multiple copies, it looks like, of Demonic, or actually Monstrous Carabid in Jody's hand. And end step, John Hobbs is actually just going to cast Snapcaster Mage, choosing not to wait for that Lightning Bolt. Wants the 2-1 in play immediately.
Yeah, rather choosing not to wait for Jody to be able to cast a Violent Outburst without a Simian Spirit Guide.
I guess it's 2 extra damage now, so he hits Jody down to 15.
Ooh, and I actually think I see a Logic Dot in Hobbs' hand. That's what the Lightning Bolt's doing.
Okay.
It's making that online. Smart play.
Now it's just Logic Knotting for 1.
2 with the 3rd land. 1 plus that card in the graveyard.
If it was just for 1, a Simian Spirit Guide could still pay for an Outburst. With X equals 2, you're probably countering a Living End.
Right.
Jody's going to cycle 1 Carabid here. Maybe even a 2nd Carabid. Looks like Drew Desert Ceradon. He's got at least 1 copy of Living End in his hand, and you always want to be careful. The deck plays 3 copies of Living End. Once you draw the 2nd one, you need to alter your gameplay at some point.
Especially in a matchup where your opponent might counter Living End.
Right.
You just run out. They don't come off of Suspend too often.
No, it's 4 mana to suspend them, and they have Suspend 3. It is a lot worse.
Yeah. The design actually, in a lot of ways, really reminiscent of a card from Legends, I believe, called All Hallows Eve.
Yeah, just like
it's
swaps, but it takes time.
It's an enchantment that takes 2 turns. I believe it's black, too.
Jody here on 13.
You can't cascade as effectively into All Hallows Eve, though.
You just got to get lucky to cascade into it. And then it still takes a while.
Bituminous Blast into All Hallows Eve, your turn.
Fulminator Mage is attempted from Jody, and Hobbs is going to look at the respect here. He Logic Knots it for 2, respecting Simian Spirit Guide.
Mm-hmm.
And Relic of Progenitus from Hobbs, he'll attack in with Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, that's a good pickup. That means that even if Jody can execute with the Living End, Hobbs can just exile the graveyard. Jody will have the option, as long as he has a stock graveyard, to be able to set up to cascade in the Living End, force Hobbs to exile everything with the Relic, and then cycle some creatures after the fact, which would force Hobbs to have a counterspell as well. He has enough fetch lands in the graveyard, so he can keep enough creatures where the Living End is good for a little while.
Demonic Dread, targeting Snapcaster Mage. So Jody can actually still get a creature into play. If he casts Living End on this Cascade, when he does, Jonathan can exile both graveyards with Relic of Progenitus, and at that point Jody can still cycle with this remaining Grove of the Burnwells if he has a 1-mana cycler.
Mm-hmm. And Hobbs just on 1 card in hand and still no access to white mana.
Right.
So Jody's not concerned about too much happening with this Living End.
So here is the Living End. So on Jonathan's side, he just has to crack Relic of Progenitus now.
Right.
And he will.
And then you'll see Jody put some more creatures into his graveyard. We'll see if Hobbs can draw that sideboard Negate or more copies of Logic Knot to fight from there.
So Hobbs draws. Now Living End is going to resolve. Unless Jody's going to cycle. There's the cycle. Looks like a monstrous Carabid will be put in the graveyard. And a Street Wraith. Now things are getting scarier. That's went from now 7 power in the graveyard.
There's a Simeon Spirit Guide. We'll see if he has a third thing to cycle with that, and he does not.
But still a swap. Snapcaster's down. Carabid and Street Wraith are in play. Back over to Hobbs we go.
And Hobbs has a Spell Queller in hand. He just doesn't have that white mana.
No, he's still on no white, so a ways away from anything like Supreme Verdict. If he even plays it, generally these Geist decks don't.
Yeah, they don't really combine very well. The main deck doesn't have anything like that. Sideboard, he has some Settle the Wreckage, but no Supreme Verdict. But yeah, off the double white for Settle as well.
Swing for 7. Hobbs down to 12. Looks like we're just going to hard cast another monstrous Carabid.
It does not impact the clock. It just goes from 7 to 11. But if Hobbs starts answering one creature, then having that extra body does matter.
I guess if he has to crack a fetch land for his white mana, then it stops him from doing that. He makes Celestial Colonnade, so Jody's got him down to 1 on the attack. I guess a Violent Outburst, if Jody has it, could be lethal here. The secret mode, give your attacking creatures +1/+0.
That's the thing it always does.
Jody has it here, too. You see it at the front of the hand. Is he going to go for lethal with that Violent Outburst? We will see.
Yeah, may as well.
Oh, yeah. Jonathan extends the hand, just 2 Spell Quellers. So Jody Keith starting his Sunday with 2-0 on Living End. Defeats Jeskai Geist, winning both sideboarded games.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of humans in the field, barring Thalia putting you off balance or Meddling Mage on Living End. It's pretty good in that matchup, and this sideboard Dead Gone strategy makes you better there. The more creature decks there are in the field,